Hey folks, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. We're talking motivations today. So if you ever feel like you're just waiting on motivation
to happen to you, to happen to you, you're waiting on that thing that's really going to motivate you, that thing outside of you that's really going to motivate you. Well,
you might be falling for some lies.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're going to be talking about today in the podcast. So stick around. And we're also going to give you some really quick little hacks that I think are really helpful. They've helped us. And so stick around and listen up. Yeah.
You want to be motivated. You want to stop procrastinating. You want to stop feeling lazy. You want to get out there and actually seize the day and do the things, especially the hard things you don't really want to do. We're going to give you some hacks here to help you get your motivation going so you can do them. Awesome. See you in there.
Welcome back.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Erin.
We're a married couple, and we love people helping people discover God's abundant plan for their life.
Yes.
Here we're talking about motivations today, one of our points of awareness in unique design.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about unique design is one of our 3 pillars that we explore in the Academy. When you can understand your unique design, you start to understand the intention of the designer. So we start to lean into that unique mission pillar, one of the other 3 pillars that we have. Then we got unique battle there. But we always start the journey at unique design. And so today we're going to be exploring one of those points of awareness, motivations. Why do we pick this one? Why is this a point of awareness, Erin?
Because I like it. No, I'm just kidding. I do like motivations.
Because I said so.
And I think it's like the type of coach I am too. I love motivating people. It's just fun for me and finding out what motivates people and what drives people. But really, I think we go through life thinking we all should be motivated by the same things, and then we shame ourselves for not being motivated by that. But the truth is we're all motivated by different things. And to be able to recognize what those things are, really, it's like a hack for life. Like to find out what actually motivates you and to maybe possibly stop judging yourself for that and just allow it to be.
Yeah, it's a really empowering place to be when you finally recognize that you don't need to wait on motivation. You can actually generate it. We're going to have more discussion on that here as we go forward. But again, our points of awareness, we pick these things because they are things that we can actually know, like just with a little bit of basic observation and reflection, we can really know these things and we can name these things. And we also pick points of awareness that are different from person to person. So like Erin said, we have different ways that we get that unique dopamine hit, right? That driver that gets us engaged in doing the things or gets us into motion or gets us really excited about when we accomplish something. So I know for me, I'm really motivated by efficiency. It's kind of one of my things. And so how this plays out also with the work that we do at Metanoia Catholic is when we have a new curriculum to put together or a new, say there's a new learning objective we want to bring people to or something we want to teach people. I'm really good and I'm really motivated to find the quickest, most efficient way to help that person arrive at that learning objective. And so being able to kind of bring my strategic gifts to the table here, and my architect, just the desire to design something that's going to be efficient, and it's going to help people accomplish that goal. I'm like driven from start to finish on it. And I got to be careful because sometimes I'll just continue to create other programs and it's just like, hold off a little bit here.
You're also motivated by like accomplishing something.
Sure.
Yeah. Which I'm not at all.
Realize the vision is one of my M code.
Zero desire to accomplish anything.
Well,
And it's true. And I know that in order to get some things done and complete things, I need to be paired up with somebody. But I am, and I've shamed myself for that for so long to be like, I just don't like checklists. I don't like to accomplish things. It's not a driver for me. If anything, I feel like it's immediate like pressure. And so for me to know that I am motivated by inspiring others, I'm motivated by fun. Right. And to know as a mindset coach that fun is really a state of mind. Like, do I think this is fun or not? And I actually can create more like fun environments to work in and more collaborative environments and things that I find fulfilling. And so just knowing that I am not motivated by something and then knowing that I am motivated by something, it really helps with that task completion. and also like to grow the company.
It helps me too. Like, cause there's like, if you don't understand if you're not conscious of what really motivates you, you tend to, expect everybody else to be motivated by the same things that you are.
Amen.
Right. And so I have tried to motivate Erin to be more efficient because I find it motivating. And my presumption is that it's motivating to her. And it hasn't worked out. Like the same approach. And so knowing that Erin is also motivated by making things fun or collaborating, I can now invite her into things using language that actually motivates her. We're going to touch on that a little bit more as we get into the podcast here. But really the focus of the podcast here, guys, is to help you identify what are those unique motivators that you have. Maybe you identify a little bit more with Erin. Maybe identify with a little bit more, like I said. In our academy, we really help you to explore the nuanced ways that you are motivated. We use an assessment called M-Code. And we also have some ways of drawing some motivations out of your temperaments here as well. So if you want a little bit more of that, join us in Academy Plus. But here, when we don't understand our unique motivations, I mean, one of the first things we can do is we can make things, like Erin said, we can make tasks that we're not really excited to do. We can make it more painful than it really needs to be.
Yeah. Or we just don't do them.
Yeah, you're right.
We just avoid them altogether. And then we also kind of build a quiet resentment towards those tasks or those people who have given us those tasks.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like you complain a lot too. Yeah. That's the other thing. And then you kill everybody else's motivation around you. On the flip side, though, when you understand how to hack your own unique motivation, you get things done that you set out to do because you're actually tapping into the natural fuel that keeps you engaged from start to finish in that task. Also, you're more influential of other people because as you start to honor your own ways that you're uniquely motivated, you start to get curious naturally about the unique ways that other people are motivated. And when you can start to tap into that, you can actually get more buy-in from the people on your team, your spouse, your family, across the board.
You also enjoy dopamine more in your life, which who doesn't want that? You know what I'm saying?
Like, get a little bit more dopamine in a healthy way.
Intentionally, right? You actually can do it more intentionally. And that dopamine comes from inside of you versus external things.
Yeah, so you don't have to control your environment so much to get that dopamine hit, that excitement that you're looking for. And that's often one of the misnomers and mistakes that people have. We're about to get into those mistakes that people get when it comes to engaging their own unique motivation style. Because again, when we are engaged, when we're motivated, we are actively, excitedly, hopefully living out God's unique plan for our life. And that is something that the enemy does not want. And so the enemy's got some strategies. We're going to give you some of the enemy's strategies that he uses to frustrate the ways that you frustrate you from engaging those unique motivations so that you default to just being lazy or procrastinating or, feeling just a little bit unexcited and stuff like that. So
and just a refresher, the enemy's strategies are always lies, and they're lies. And the only reason why we're going over these lies is because they're lies that kind of look pretty and useful and holy even. And we're just going to show you where those lies actually lead you, but also like the actual truth behind it. And so, he's an old dog. He doesn't have any new tricks. Lies are the thing. So here we go.
From the beginning, speaking his native language.
Right.
All right. Lie number one, enemy strategy number one. What do we got?
The thought, I'm just an unmotivated person.
Boo.
That was me. I thought that for so long. There was a lot of stuff going into it, but I thought I was just like, I'm just not motivated, or I'm not motivated by the right things, right? Like, and that's where that judgment kind of came in.
So it was a judgment more on the things that motivated you. Is I don't really identify with this lie a lot personally.
Totally.
I could identify in like certain circumstances where it's just like, okay, when it comes to certain tasks like finance, you guys have heard me talk about finance before, like that's something where I'm just like not driven. Or if I've got to engage something where I've got to, demonstrate a competency that I know I don't have just yet. It's like a little bit more dread going towards that thing rather than like being engaged to learn and grow in that competency.
This is your unique design coming out. So you're choleric. So you probably, if you're choleric out there and you're listening to this, you probably never thought this lie before or agreed with this lie. Like you're probably like, I am so motivated. I kind of can't slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm motivated by hard things like difficulty.
Right. And
challenge. Yep.
But if you're a phlegmatic like me, secondary, but kind of a strong secondary. And there is that thought, like, I'm just unmotivated. I'm like, I just want to sit here on the couch all the time.
Does that feel safe?
Probably.
Like that thought?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty thought.
Okay.
Because if you can just blame it on your personality, then you don't really have to do anything. Right?
Yeah, and this is where like when we take these personality assessments, which really we can draw some great insights, and this is what we do in our academy. We draw a lot of great insights out of these personality assessments, like M-Code and temperaments and Strengths Finder. When you just start to label yourself with some of the common vice patterns that show up in these things, and it's just like, this is just me. It's like, actually, that's just not taking ownership. We don't just settle for kind of the vicious expressions of those things. Like, nobody is just naturally lazy, right? You may be a little bit more, have a higher aversion to challenging things or uncomfortable things, but that doesn't mean that your default is to be lazy.
Yeah. So here's something I want to say to this, actually. So it's kind of a provocative rebuttal to it, but to the thought, I'm just an unmotivated person, I would say there is no such thing.
Clever.
There's no such thing as an unmotivated person. I do believe there's somebody who doesn't know what they're motivated by and maybe aren't in environments that are actually contributing to those motivations, or maybe they haven't hacked the system, found out, like, what am I motivated by and how do I apply this? I do think that there's plenty of people out there with that issue, but I don't think that there is such a thing as somebody who is unmotivated.
Just unconscious of their motivations.
Right, partially because of, like, M-Code. Everybody who takes that test gets, motivations.
A motivation profile.
They get a motivation profile, and, like, it doesn't matter what your temperament is. It doesn't matter what you are going into that. It doesn't matter what is going on in your life. You will get motivations from that.
Yes. If you are moving, you are motivated.
Yes.
Right? Nobody moves unless they have some desire that they're moving towards, whether it's getting a glass of water or, I don't know, getting a chocolate bar.
But I think the nuance here, too, is to see somebody like you, Matt, who is a choleric, who chances are is the person up on the stage motivating people, right? And you are motivated by very specific things, and I would say even more visual and vocal things. Like, you just do the checklist. You do this, you do this, you do this. And it's like, yeah, for you, that's highly motivating. For me, it's like, ugh. So then you see that, and that's the only thing that you're seeing when it comes to motivation. And then you go, well, I should be motivated by that. Okay. So then there's that extra layer of shame on top of that, where it's like, oh, I should be, and I'm not. And so
a shaming should.
Yes. So that is where the enemy really kind of keeps us stuck. Like, well, I'm not motivated by all the things that people talk about what should motivate you. And so therefore I'm just an unmotivated person.
Okay. So there's no such thing as an unmotivated person. And the reality is we have different motivation profiles. Yes. Meaning we have different ways that God has designed us to get a dopamine hit.
Yep.
And when we can come to understand those things, we can start to discern and a little bit more what our mission is in life. Because if you're really motivated to be in front of a lot of people, then maybe part of your mission is being in front of a lot of people. Amen. Right? It's not automatically vanity. Like John Paul II was in front of a lot of people. But I don't think we just say that he was vain.
The most seen person on the face of the earth.
Most seen person in history.
Not like online, but like actually in person.
Actually in person, yes. Yep.
Yeah. So that's really my counter strategy. Go find out what uniquely motivates you. We do have a link in our academy to this M-Code test that you can come in and take. And normally the M-Code test is around $80.
I think it's $90 now.
$90 just to take it. And
it's worth it.
You can come and join us in the academy for $25 a month. So there you go.
With the 7-day free trial. Wink.
Yes.
So you just you got nothing to lose. 7-day free trial, join it, take that M-Code assessment, and then we're going to help you unpack that in the academy. So stick around. Don't leave. All right.
Great. That's my counter strategy.
Cool.
Okay. Line number 2. I need to be able to do the things that I need to do with or without motivation. Do you feel like that? Does that kind of apply to you?
So I don't say it in that language. Okay. I say it's like, suck it up.
Yep.
It's embrace the suck, which I think there's a good, that's kind of motivating to me.
Yes.
I mean, personally. But also, like, the language I think is common to Catholics is, this is just my cross to bear, right? So they have this good association with it being painful. And it's almost as the more painful it is, the task is, the more mortifying it is, therefore the more merit it has. But here's the thing, like, if you are creating the pain, that is not God giving you the cross.
Yeah.
That is you creating the cross.
How are they creating it? I'm curious.
Well, they're creating it psychologically, where they don't necessarily, a simple reframe could make you a lot more engaged and excited about completing the task, and you still get it done, and you get it done faster, quite frankly. But by just sticking with a frame that is actually increasing the perception of the task in front of you, that doesn't increase the merit of it. That just increases the unnecessary pain of you that you're feeling going through it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, almost like it's cheating to be motivated.
Yeah.
Like, to become holy or whatever, to do the thing. It's like, I feel like I'm a cheater if I dive into this hack a little bit.
Yeah, that's something that I've fallen into as a cleric, and that's even where I've kind of seen myself in an overuse pattern, my achiever being in an overuse pattern. So use some strengths finder language here. I'm so excited of doing something that's hard that sometimes I will make a task harder than it needs to be because it feels more meritorious after it.
And that triggers me, which is another podcast.
No, which is no, Aaron. This is like where I've learned. Like, you're a great compliment to me because by kind of saying, "Hey, can we just make this simpler?" And it's just like, "Yeah, we can. How about we do that?" And it's, I mean, you all benefit from that as well. Like, all of our clients benefit from that, from not having to have this hard thing.
Yeah.
No, God is so ordered, and I think that's that. I know in me, it's more vanity and pride that's there because it's just like, okay, it's a little bit more of that bootstrapping, that self-reliance that's being summoned there.
This is something that just kind of came to me as we were talking, and I'm like, okay, everything that we do in relationship to God is in the context of a relationship. So imagine you have a task for somebody in your family who you love, right? And let's say it's a child, and you're like, I have this task for you to do the dishes or whatever. And you know that they're not motivated by it. But somehow they figure out how to be motivated and really start to even enjoy the task. Like, the effort. They're starting to enjoy the effort put in. Like, are you happy about that, or are you mad about that?
Yeah.
As the parent, are you like, I want it to suck for them,
Well, it's what we're getting into here is engagement. So, like, even in no,
I mean, just pause right now, because I think the Lord wants us to be motivated by the things that He is asking us to do.
Yes, I think He wants us to be engaged.
Yes,
so, like, when we say engaged, it's like, it's not just the external compliance, I'm doing the action, but like internally, I desire to do the thing that I am being asked to do here as well. And because of that, it's actually changing me. It's transforming me. Well, and this is why we that positive state of, like, putting yourself in a place of gratitude actually changes your physiology in some way. It changes the state of the person. And so being in that engaged state, being in that motivation state versus a demotivated state, you're going to find it easier to be more habitually put into that motivated state. And that's attractive. Like, people that are not motivated are not attractive. And if we're called to be a city on a hill, lamp on a lampstand, and influential people, then and all we're doing is kind of like pulling ourselves, dragging ourselves along. It just doesn't make the faith in the Christian life look very appealing. Yeah.
So I think something really, really what we're looking at here is just noticing the words that you use that you think are motivating to you and actually aren't. Like, Matt, you were just saying, like, what is it? Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Which that is motivating to you. It's not for me at all. So just to notice specifically and subjectively, what are those words that kind of get in the way there? Maybe I need to, or I have to do this, or this is just my cross to bear. Notice what is happening in you, because I know that I need to and I have to often, not all the time, but often leads to powerlessness versus oh, I'm choosing to do this. And so just be on to the language that is getting in the way of you actually being motivated.
Well, there's a piece that you put in here in terms of the strategy, right? In terms of being conscious of the language, right? So that I have to.
Yeah.
When you say I have to do this, and you really don't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe you ought to, and it's a
lying.
good should. Like it's like I have to, make sure my kid gets to sleep on time or something like that. That's a good should. That's a good have to. But even that language, is it feel imposing or inviting?
Yeah.
And so often just reframing the I have to with I choose to allows you to show up so much more differently.
Yes.
Because now it's like my will is engaged, and when my will is engaged, I am engaged. And when I am engaged, typically at that point, I'm more motivated.
Also, when you use the word choose, I choose to, you immediately start to go to your reasoning. Why? Why are you choosing to do this? So now you are building up a compelling argument as to why this is good. And so I choose to put my kid to bed at this time. Because, see how my mind immediately went there. Because when she sleeps better, we are all happier. When she has like a solid 9 hours of sleep a night, right? We are all very happy about this.
Yes, and now you have a motivation that's not just emotional, but it's actually backed up by reason and it's logical.
Yes.
Yeah. So when the emotions fail, the logic is still there driving the train where it needs to be going.
So the counter strategy, just to kind of brief you, is stop lying to yourself and like thinking that these phrases I need to and I have to are actually motivating. They are not. They actually do the opposite. And then replace it with a phrase like I choose to because blank. It's just it's a quick little mindset hack, but it helps you kind of build up that compelling reason. Well,
it's more influential because it's actually maximizing your freedom. So the difference between freedom and manipulation is freedom seeks to maximize, influence seeks to maximize freedom. Manipulation seeks to erode freedom, right? Influence wants what's best for the person, motivated by love. Manipulation wants the person to just externally comply, motivated more by fear in that sense. So we have a whole podcast, I think, dedicated to that where we talk locus of control.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big touchstone in our academy too. Okay, we're moving along here.
Yes.
Third lie. Ready to go?
Lie number 3. I'm glad that we kind of saved this one because there's a couple things that we want to share with you. Some of these little strategies, which are kind of fun. Motivation just happens to me. How many of you believe that?
Just
it's just
like
I'm just waiting for like motivation to come and inspire me. I'm waiting for motivation to happen.
Waiting to catch feelings.
Yeah.
Catch motivation.
Right. Exactly. But this also this will lead to you waiting a very long time. Sometimes it does happen to you, but it doesn't just happen to you. It's more of like your focus changes, your thought changes, and then you feel motivated. So there's a lot of internal stuff that you don't know what's happening.
Yeah. So if all of a sudden I read something and that's something that say I'm starting a business, right? And I'm feeling just dragging along the difficulty of that, the things that I need to do to start that business. And all of a sudden I hear a podcast and that person gives me a hack. And now that hack gives me hope. And that hope is an emotion that kind of gets me moving. And I feel motivated at that point. Well, nothing's really changed
in the circumstances.
In terms of the circumstances, you still have those hard things you need to do for your business, but now your focus has shifted, like Aaron just said, to maybe, hey, if I focus on fixing this thing over here, I can get over this challenge that's in front of me. And now that challenge is something that seems surmountable, and there's audacity and there's courage that's being, and hope that's being summoned to and also this desire that's being inflamed here as well, that creates this now very motivated state to get you into movement.
Yeah, and the hopeful truth to all of what you just said and what we've been saying this whole time is that you actually can create motivation
without having to listen to the podcast, without having to read another book, with it, like just
that could help, but
it helps. I like to do that stuff. Is it just kind of gets me pumped up, sometimes, and like, why not? It's there. It's available.
You're borrowing new thoughts. You're borrowing, inspiration. And what is happening is there's words that are changing in your mind. So we can actually increase and create new motivation by even just reading a word or bringing a word into a sentence or a structured question that actually could send our brain on another journey, right? Because our brain, like you were saying, the example that you were giving is maybe somebody has those neural pathways that have kind of gotten used to going to the deepest, darkest places and being like, oh, this is so dreadful and this is terrible. And then what we come into, if we're going to focus on a different word or a different picture even, and then we start to ask better questions, we get better answers. Our brain goes on another mission. It kind of starts to break those neural pathways from the way that was happening before. I am not a neurologist at all or neuroscientist, but
no, this is aligned with what the research is showing.
Yeah,
you're changing. It's a reframe. This is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's you're reframing your outlook, your perception, and that actually has a change. It changes the way that your body state chemically at that point, and it summons different emotions at that point. And there are some words, like for example, if somebody asked me, "Hey, how do we do this fun?" I would be like, "Who cares? Like who cares about that? It doesn't matter. Aaron. It's fun." It's like, but if somebody asks Aaron, "Hey, how can you do it in a way that's fun?" Now, like, there's dopamine that's actually being hit in her. It's not being hit in me. I just don't care about it. It's not engaging. If somebody asks me, what's the most efficient way that we can get this done? It's like, ooh, like that's something I'm engaged. I'm showing up. I want to be a part of that project. And it's something that actually excites me.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's just changing the words.
Yep. A couple other words that I like are maximize, simplify, create, collaborate, fun, right? So it's like, how do we make this more fun and simple?
How do we make it funner?
How do we make it the funnest and the simplest, right? Or how do we maximize what we're getting already? So like, how do we build upon or create more of an effect right here? That's like highly motivating to me.
Yeah. And see, what's exciting here is that, here on our team, we need both the efficiency and the fun. Like we need both of those things. And so for me to now, because Erin's just motivated by fun, for me to judge myself for desiring efficiency, or for Erin to judge her fun because, to like appease to my efficient, vice versa. Am I getting confused there? For us to just deny it and say that the other person has got a better motivation, we stop bringing that motivation to the team. And so when we can do something that's fun and efficient, it starts to actually create a unique culture within our organization. And the same thing happened within your family, within your relationship with your spouse. When you start to have both of those unique design elements, the unique motivators coming together, it creates something brand new. And there's something very attractive about that. There's something very fruitful about that. Whereas there's something, arguably, it's brand new. That's coming forth from being authentically you and coming together in your motivation styles in the relationship.
Yeah. But I have a couple of things I want to add to this.
Do it.
Because since we're talking about motivation and how words actually change the way that you are motivated, just the words that we're thinking or reading on a piece of paper, you can create some of these questions. But I really, there's a couple things I want to share with you guys. I want to share with you the 5-minute rule.
Cool.
And that kind of gets you just moving in the very beginning. It's like a little brain hack. And then the run the experiment exercise.
This is going to be, I haven't seen these things yet, folks. So this is, I'm right here with you.
You know the 5-minute rule. It's like, I can do anything for 5 minutes.
Cool.
Right?
I know that rule now.
I could sit there and scroll on social media for 5 minutes, but also I could probably I wonder what I could get done in 5 minutes.
I could focus on my kid for 5 minutes.
Even set a timer if you need to, but I can do this for 5 minutes. And here's the catch for that. It's not to trick yourself and to keep doing it at the end of it. You give yourself full permission to stop doing it at the end of 5 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
So don't lie to yourself. Don't be like, I'm doing this just to do it for like the next 3 hours. but you're just going, I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to see what I can get done in 5 minutes. And then I'm going to congratulate myself at the end of it and be like, great job. And give myself the choice. Do I want to keep going?
Okay, so this is a hack when you're approaching something that you don't want to do.
Correct.
Okay, and it's just like,
so it helps you get motivated.
All right, so it's like, I can do anything for 5 minutes. Most of us believe that. Okay, and so that means that all I need to do in order to win here is to focus on this thing that I don't want to focus on, don't want to do for 5 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm going to call that a win.
Yeah.
And I'm going to celebrate it afterwards.
And give myself the freedom to say no.
Yeah, or do another 5 minutes.
Yes, yep. And that's, I mean, personally, that's usually what happens to me is I continue doing the thing, but I do honestly give myself the freedom to say, do I want to keep doing this? Okay.
Cool.
That kind of gets you moving and motivated, at least into it. And then oftentimes what happens is you realize how much you can get done in 5 minutes, because there's a lot of people who kind of feel overwhelmed going into tasks, and they're like, okay, but what could I get done in 5 minutes? I like that as a challenge a little bit.
Yep.
But also it makes you realize how easy it really is oftentimes, because we're so overwhelmed. And so it's a mindset hack right there. This is another one where maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by, like I got to do it right and I got to do it perfectly. So maybe you're feeling some dread going into this, or I don't know what I'm doing type of thing, like going into it. You shared that earlier. So it's like if it's a new thing and you're feeling like dread to it, and you're
yeah, there's this threat of I'm going to look stupid.
Okay.
That's kind of like the thing I really want to avoid.
Yep. And this one is just time to run an experiment. That's the thought.
Yep.
And the experiment versus something I'm definitely going to fail at, because that's where your brain is going right now, currently. But if you're like, time to run an experiment, now you are in that state of a student. Now you're like, oh, okay, I'm either winning right out of the gate, which rarely ever happens, or I'm learning, right? So I'm just experimenting.
Winning or learning. Yeah. So our daughter, she's almost 6, and she loves gymnastics. And so she's been running outside and, Mom and Dad, I can do a handstand. And like, she's really trying to do this handstand. And she gets very frustrated when the handstands aren't meeting her expectation. And so she came into the dinner table after, we're sitting there, and she's all upset. And it's like, what's going on? Are you a little disappointed that your handstands aren't like where you want them to be? And she's just like, I'm terrible at handstands. I was just like, okay, well, if you were really good at handstands, like, people are never good at things in the beginning. So if you were really good at it, it's either too easy or you're a weirdo. And so, like, it was just something that kind of helped her laugh a little bit, where it was just like reframing, no, it's actually very normal to not be good at something in the very beginning. And so it's kind of weird to be excellent at something, or you're just picking something that's too easy in the beginning. And for some reason, that was this kind of, I noticed in her, there was a little bit of a change in state, and she went outside and she did a little bit more, and she laughed about it.
Yeah.
I felt like a good parent.
Good job.
Thanks.
I was there. You were.
Words of affirmation.
I feel like even just the statement, oh, I'm in the process of this, or, oh, this makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think a couple of those are really helpful motivators. Yeah. Like, I think you're getting at a lot of the things that can zap us of our motivation. And so dread is something that can zap us of our motivation. Perfectionism or fear can zap us of our motivation. And so even a couple of these little simple reframes that can reduce the fear, reduce the dread, make space for imperfection. They don't just immediately undermine the hope that we have. That motivation needs hope. Yes. Yeah, I would say it's like the thing that brings hope. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to get motivated for something that is hopeless. Right? And so if we can just cultivate some hope. Yeah, I see some of those hacks that you're giving there as cultivating hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's it, guys. This was actually, I love this podcast so much because I love talking about motivation. I think God gave us this ability to be motivated. He even created an entire neurochemical situation going on with dopamine and what's the other one? The adrenaline one? norepinephrine. I don't know.
Neuroepinephrine? Something like that? You know the one. You know the one. But yeah, like just getting you driven to like move. And so it's, get you moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you guys want to explore this more, come into the Academy.
Yeah. Join us in Academy Plus. We've got a free trial that we've got set up there for you. So 7 days, you can jump in there. You can get your M-Code assessment. Tons of fun. But then don't just end there, because we have all these other points of awareness to explore in your unique design. And this is just a hack. I don't think there's anybody really having these conversations between linking unique design and unique mission.
Yeah.
But they're really exciting. So we're constantly getting questions from people about how do I discern God's plan for my life?
Yeah.
And this is a really practical way, starting with unique design. And John Paul II says the journey starts with self-awareness. So when we become aware of these points of awareness, and you can, like, we've picked these things because they are knowable things, like relatively easy. You can start to know these things with just a little bit of focused effort. We got some tools in there to make it even simpler for you to grow aware of, your all these different points of awareness of your unique design. And it's an amazing community here, guys, to grow with.
Yes. Yeah. So if you want to come and learn how to create sentences and questions in your mind that actually like directly apply to you and your unique motivations, come and check us out.
Yeah. Start your free trial.
I would love to help you with that, actually, personally.
Cool. Awesome.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.